Welcome to the Network Build Grow podcast, the show where business owners, entrepreneurs, and professionals share their stories, lessons learned, and powerful strategies for building relationships and growing their circle of influence. With Melissa Taylor, your host, each week we'll bring you actionable insights to help you build a better network and a better business. Let's dive in.
Well, welcome to the show, Jason. How are you doing?
Hey, not bad. Glad to be here.
Yeah, we have known each other, I think, since like 2017, and now it's 2026. So it's been a while.
It has. It's been a long road, particularly getting through COVID.
Yeah. Yeah, it has. And you have done a ton of stuff for me, banners, awards, promo items. Just, I can't thank you enough for all the stuff that you've supported me with and helped me with. So first, wanted to say that before we got started.
Well, thank you. Glad to help.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us, why instant imprints? Why this industry?
Well, it's an interesting concept in the sense that everyone, every organization, every business needs what we produce to some degree. So it's not it's not an industry where I suffer for potential prospects. The main reason I ended up choosing it is I wanted something completely different from my background that I've had in the past. I used to work in banking, industrial analytics, those kinds of roles, and I wanted to stretch out the other side of my brain a little bit. And I've sort of found, and after going through this for many years now, when you're starting up a business, you tend to get into a long grind. So that once the excitement of opening up ends, then the real work starts setting in. And in my case, I'm always it helps me stay focused on what I need to do when I have new challenges, something different to deal with every day. And that's what this industry brings to me. And so it's helped me maintain focus on my customers, focus on the business, and still have some fun along the way, while we're grinding through and getting to profitability.
Okay, so that's wonderful. And it sounds a little bit like herding cats sometimes.
It is that I would describe the day to day of running a business is exactly that. It's just you don't know. Every day I make a plan on what I'm going to get to during the day, and I think the first step is usually tear up the plan.
Yeah.
Because it's just something happens, something goes on, and you just have to be able to immediately shift focus, and then but still have the mindset to say, oh, I still need to get back to this.
Still need to get back to that. So you do promotional products. That's, shirts, hats, ball caps, mugs, water bottles, pens, all those things. But then I don't think people realize that you do a lot of other stuff. I mean, we've gotten wooden cutting boards from you that you've laser printed names on, glass awards for Network Build Grow, our award ceremony etched with names. Like, there's just a huge variety of things.
As a part of what we we produce virtually anything that has graphics on it. And because we know our craft pretty well, it gives us the ability to come up with unique ideas. I kind of look at our business. I step back a little bit, and really what we do is we solve problems for our customers. So we provide solutions, and it's not so much that we're providing a pen, that's got something engraved on it. That's not really what we do. Yes, we are providing these pens, but what we're doing is we're trying to solve, brand recognition issues for our customers. Sometimes the customer knows exactly what they want. Sometimes they don't. And we when given the chance, we like to step back and say, what is it you're trying to achieve? When you think of branded apparel in a company, small to mid-sized company, brand apparel is more like a team uniform. So if you're trying to create a team environment and bring your people together, the best way to do it is have some sort of a uniform. if it is trying to get recognition on new customers in your landscape or maybe vehicle graphics. So we try and step back and try and figure out what is it that you're trying to achieve. Another good example is we we were working with a chiropractor, and the chiropractor is like, well, I need some more customers, but they're a small office. She's the only one working in it. And what we realized is, she's already pretty busy. And if we go do a large direct mail campaign for her and help her in that way, she, she can't physically take all the new customers. So we
Hmm.
sat down and started figuring out where's the more profitable customers coming from, and it's referrals from doctors. So now instead of a large campaign that's just a shotgun attempt to the whole to a 5 mile radius of their office, it is, let's get something much more targeted to the doctors that refer the better, the more profitable patients.
Hmm.
So we we get involved in brand strategy, marketing strategy, um, but very often it's, someone will call me up, such as yourself, and say, "Hey, I need 15 cups."
Yeah.
We can do that.
Yeah.
So it's just we try and figure out what's our customer need, and then try and fit a product to that.
Yeah. Now, truth be told, I don't think I've ever called you knowing what I wanted. Um, I usually call you and say,
Yeah.
Jason, do you have something like this or that? And then your staff gives me options, which is wonderful. Last time I stopped by your place, I think you were making laser wood Christmas ornaments for somebody,
Oh
and they
yes.
were beautiful.
Yeah. And that's kind of a that gets into, you you had mentioned earlier the herding cats. So that was an order where the customer said, "Hey, I need 100 of these," and time wasn't an issue. We were 2 to 3 weeks out from Christmas. They liked it so much they turned around and said, "Well, we really need 1,800 of these."
Ah,
And I'm like, "Oh my goodness, they take 4.5 minutes apiece."
wow.
Um, so then you have to switch modes. Particularly as an entrepreneur, you got to figure out. It's like, well, I'm doing this job. What's it going to take? And what we ultimately had to do is split the staff up into 3 shifts,
Yeah.
and keep the equipment running. So that that's something that, we're also, as a relatively small and nimble business, we can still deliver on these massive orders, but that again, that really takes that that takes a business owner that's going to sit there and say, all right, it's not done. What do I have to do? And we're an insurance policy. If you'd ordered
Hmm.
that from, let's say, an online competitor,
Hmm.
maybe you're going to get it, maybe you're not. Maybe you can save some money doing that. Um, However, one of those online competitors are not going to split their staff into 3 shifts to make sure it gets done on time.
Right.
Um, in 7+ years, I can count on one hand the amount of times we didn't have an order done on time. And usually, in almost all of those cases, we were able to provide something else. It's just that particular item either got lost. The supply chain, creates an issue, but
Hmm.
we're able to turn around and say, "Well, I've got this in stock. I can give you this instead."
That's
So
good.
we never leave a customer empty-handed,
Hmm.
if you will, when they need something.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about your business growth and how has networking played a part in building your business?
Well, to a large degree, networking is everything for us. And the reason it's everything for us is when we're able to connect one on one directly with someone, a prospect, or an existing customer that we're trying to get back in the door. That face to face interaction creates a much stronger business relationship down the road.
Hmm.
If someone comes to us and they've replied online to an ad, or they found us on Google or whatnot, we're just a vendor. When I connect with someone through networking, I'm able to convey a much more important concept for us, which is we're a partner. Vendors are disposable. Okay,
Hmm.
partners are not. And so much in the way you're saying, hey, I don't know what I want. I'm going to call and get ideas. That doesn't work if you go online to something, and that doesn't work. Like if you're reaching out to us via these other methods, we never we never have the opportunity to convey the value that we provide that is beyond the pen. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's a minor detail of what we're doing. What we're doing is we're making it easy for you to get your branding needs done, and I can't convey that any other way other than networking. So that
Mm-hmm.
relationship is key, and through networking groups, it, if I look back, I think my top 10, maybe even top 20 customers were acquired through networking and networking groups. And they're, we get to a relationship that is just so much more valuable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you get the repeat customers, the lifetime value increases.
Yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
those customers, two of them now have changed organizations, and they've brought us in to their
Mm-hmm.
new organization. And so when you have that strong relationship that you built with someone and they move, in most cases I keep the old relationship, now I've got a new one. So that one connection becomes two. And then
Mm-hmm.
when they refer us to someone else, that becomes three, that becomes four.
Mm-hmm.
um, 65% of our orders are repeat orders. um, and that, I mean, from a marketing, you spend all this money to go meet somebody and market and acquire a customer. um,
Keep them.
to keep them is so much more about, like,
Yeah.
all right, great. I know that next month I'm going to at least have 60% of the business I had this month.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes things much much easier. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the other thing is you use your networking group. So when I go into a networking meeting, and I was just at one for the Charlotte Chamber, and that particular networking group, I have people that I know that I have a good relationship, and they'll drag me over and say, "You need to talk to this person.
Yeah.
They're looking for what you need." And so now, when you're networking and you're building these relationships, they become part of your marketing team as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's particularly for my business, I can't think of any other way that's more effective and better as far as getting new customers and strong customers.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's just the opportunities, just it's like a domino effect when you have those relationships built. Now you are different than some of our listeners. You actually have a brick and mortar. You have a storefront. People can walk through your front door.
Two of them.
Two of them now. Yes, two of them now. One in Charlotte and one in Greenville, I think, South Carolina, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So what complexities does that put on you to find the time to leave the actual physical store location and go to like a networking event?
That is, well, that's a challenge. There's no getting around that. Now, what I would say, before I acquired our Greenville location, I struggled with it because I was still in the mindset of I'm backup labor. So we get a job come in, and yeah, I do a little bit of marketing work, and all of a sudden, you know, something comes in and it's too easy for me to pick up and walk over to the laser engraver and start doing a job.
Hmm.
Um, when I acquired the second location, that model of owning and operating has to stop, and I was forced to. It was very good, and that splitting means that I no longer can do any operations in either of the stores. I
Hmm.
have to I have to deal with the management of the locations, and 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 change my team structure. And once I've changed my team structure, like in Charlotte right now, it runs itself. As a matter of fact, if I try and interject in the operations there, I'm going to mess things up.
Mm.
So it now my focus is much more on get out, network, go to sign up for every possible networking event that I can. Now, that distance, I don't really recommend having locations that far apart.
About an
Um,
hour and a half.
about an hour and a half. You throw in rush hour and the accident that happens every day. It's really 2 hours each way. So you then have to optimize your time. So I look at it and I was like, all right, I've got 2 days a week that I'm going to go down to Greenville and I'm either going to meet with customers or go to networking events. Charlotte, the other 3 days, try and do networking events. And we're actually looking at opening a third studio location here in Charlotte. Once that gets up and going, that pressure increases a little bit more on me from an operations standpoint. However, it'll make it more efficient because the networking and marketing that I do in the Charlotte area just helps both locations.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I would look at things. But for me, it's, you choose your networking groups as well. Where do you find the most important customers that you have? But you also don't want to discount. Like in my case, we have minimums. And so even though we do small orders from time to time, it's the same amount of overhead for me to do a larger order. And so we've started seeking out larger groups or or groups that have large organizations in it, or groups that, let's say, they're business consultants. They're still good to network with, even though they might only want one or two shirts, or they might need a small order. What's important to keep in mind is that person's network is also mine.
Right.
And so now, if that person is working at Microsoft, okay, great. Now I've got an in or a reason to connect with someone in Microsoft, right? So you you have to be smart about it. You have to think about it, and then work your contacts. And I'm not the greatest at this. There's others that are, but one thing that I do need to do more of is actually reach out and ask my contacts in the networking groups that I'm a part of to help me meet other people. It's kind of crazy because I think about, like, if you asked me, to connect with someone that was in my network, I'd absolutely do it. And yet mentally, I've got a barrier that reaching out to someone to say, hey, can you help me introduce me to another person? I have to do more of that. And frankly, a lot of the lessons learned in your group, Network Build Grow, constantly reminds me of the things that I know I should do and I'm not doing. And it helps me push me a little bit further in that networking.
That's great. I love that we're pushing you. I love to hear that.
Yeah.
If you network for your business, you already know follow-up is everything when it comes to growing relationships and driving success. But here's the thing. Most of us want to follow up well. We just get stuck. Staying consistent, keeping it personal, making it stand out, it's hard. That's why I use NetEffect.io. It makes follow-up simple, cuts through all the noise, and helps me stay on top of every relationship without dropping the ball. I never miss a follow-up, and honestly, my network wouldn't be the same without it. So check it out, neteffect.io. And right now, you can use promo code NBG50 for 50% off of your first month. neteffect.io, your secret weapon to unforgettable follow-up.
So how many groups are you currently involved in? Like, kind of not just like going every once in a while, but actually trying to like go consistently?
Yeah. So the Charlotte area chamber, Network Build Grow, of course. I'm a Rotary member.
Okay.
So that's a group that it's a much longer play because, number one about Rotary, it's service above self, right? So you build relationships there and it takes longer. I've been a part of other groups. I just haven't been back to them. And mainly it's conflicts or mix of people in the group. Network Charlotte. I think that's one. There's a few smaller groups that are out there that we're a part of, but chambers of commerce are really, really valuable. One of the challenges I have with a lot of chambers is they don't share emails.
Yeah.
And so what I like to do, and what I did that was very successful with Charlotte area chamber, is I was able to get a hold of the email addresses and just send out an email to everybody saying, look, I want to get to know you. I want to have a one-on-one connection. It's hard for me to recommend someone when I don't know what you do.
Hmm.
And within an hour of sending out those emails, I had 40 appointments.
Wow.
So,
Hmm.
thinking about how you use those groups, but let's say I'll pick on the Greer Chamber of Commerce down in South Carolina.
Hmm.
They will not share emails.
Yeah.
And so it makes it much more difficult in that value proposition in my showing. It's like, all right, as in any group, I'm sure you'd admit yours as well, as there's a core portion, and let's say it's less than 20% of the people that are a part of the group actually go to the coffees, the networking events. So it's important to me when I look at a group how easy it is for me to connect with everyone.
Hmm.
Because like I go to the Charlotte Chamber meetings,
Hmm.
and it's the same, you know, 40 to 80 people at
Hmm.
each event, yet there's 700 members.
Yeah.
So that's where you've got to leverage your network a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, if I know Melissa's in this group, Melissa, do you know these other people? I can't get to them. I don't know what their email is. Can you
Hmm.
help make that connection? And maybe, that's a way to do it. But it does take it. Networking can't be done passively.
Right.
Is the way I look at it. You've got to actively work it in the same way that you would work your social media campaigns or anything.
Absolutely. Yeah. I tell people all the time, you can't just go to the event. That's not enough.
Yeah.
That's just not enough. And you're right. 20 to 30% of people in a group actually consistently go to the events for you to get to know them there. And you have to, like you said, actively, not passively, work on getting to know them. I'm a member of an association, and that association, our meetings have like 300 people at them. Well, there's no way you can meet everybody, and half of them are vendors probably. So I take the little book and I go through it one by one and reach out to every single person, because that's the only way that you're going to get to actually build a relationship with them. Just takes
Yeah,
time.
and an organization that's like that for us is the Hospitality and Tourism Alliance.
Yeah.
Love that group.
Yep.
Any given one of those customers have the chance of doubling my revenue.
Yeah.
It's a hard group to penetrate, and it's one that's been kind of slow because they don't have a lot of events as well. So
Hmm.
that's one that one thing I've done now. I've had a staffing change. I need to bring another person on board to do this, but I had someone actually, and I have good access to data on people through Zoom Info. It's part of our
Hmm.
franchise offering. But I had someone going through the list of people, looking them up to find their email, find their
Hmm.
mobile number, which is pretty easy on Zoom Info,
Hmm.
and calling and setting up appointments. It's a lot more work to do that. It's something as an owner of multiple locations I can't do, so I actually do have to outsource that
Hmm.
work or hire for it.
Hmm.
But that was pretty effective as far as getting into people and getting in front of them. And that, but again, the larger the organization for us, the more difficult it is for us to get in. But the payoff's there, so I tend to, it's like fishing. Be patient, throw out a large hook with a large bait to get that large customer. Because for like my business concept, 14 large customers is all I need to break even. So
Right.
if I had 14 of them, and then all the rest of my normal day-to-day business that we do is extra and on the top. So
Hmm. Yeah.
organizations like that are very key, but boy, it's hard to penetrate and get through those groups. But it's
Yeah. Yeah. You got to work your network. And like you said, there's a difference between prospecting and networking because, like you said, when you're networking, yeah, the person in front of you might not be that large organization, but they might know the person that's in that large organization. They might have a contact, they might have a connection. And so, what do they say? Every person knows about 200 people. So, the more you network, the bigger your circle of influence gets
Yeah.
exponentially.
And what I would sort of say to that is certainly within your group, because you're about networking, the folks that are in networking groups probably know a whole lot more.
A whole lot more.
And so that goes beyond the, and we had a good discussion in one of your huddles where we were talking about, do your friends and family know what you do?
hmm
That's I look at that. That's my people that have the 200 plus contacts. And what's ridiculous when you don't let them know or you don't actively push uh, within that network, right? They're going to be a stronger advocate for you because they're like, oh gosh, that's my neighbor. I better be nice. You know, I
Yeah.
better help them out, or your brothers, sisters, and so forth. It's like it's
Yeah.
family, right?
I mean,
Take a-
our
take
insurance
advantage.
agent's our neighbor.
Yeah, yeah, and one of my the person that built out my first store is a neighbor, and they have a construction company, and they're a customer of ours. And as a GC, they know a ton of other companies. So
hmm
you really want to work that network and kind of be strategic about it. One of the other things that I think is also important is with strategic customers, making sure you thank them.
Yes.
And that's really easy from my perspective because I make gifts. No,
Yeah.
so it's pretty easy for us to throw something together that doesn't cost me a whole lot to do, but has very high perceived value. So typically, when we have a relationship with a strong customer, we take care of them in appropriate manners. It's not like you do need to be careful about that because if you've got a large company, they may have a gift policy. So it's
Mhm.
always good to ask. But we typically, if I've got someone that places a $20,000 order, we're going to do something pretty nice for them.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's not directly for them. We'll do something pretty nice for their customers so
Mhm.
that they can hand out and have something to give away. So we
Mhm.
do a lot of that kind of stuff.
It's important.
And usually the ask, and a lot of times you don't have to directly ask for it, although you should, is, hey, is there someone you can refer us to?
Mhm.
Um, a lot of times that happens naturally, but it's still good to ask.
Yeah. No, it's part of your process. If it's part of your process, it doesn't feel icky to anybody. It doesn't feel icky to them. It doesn't feel
Mhm.
icky to you. It feels icky when it's not a part of your process.
And that's part of the coaching. So I have an employee that down in Greenville, and right now she's a little bit undertasked. Okay,
Mhm.
so I hired her in for graphics. Yet my store manager is also a graphic designer, and so she's not busy on graphics all day long. And so I've had her helping with marketing and so forth, and calling on customers, and it's definitely puts her out of her comfort zone.
Mhm.
And whether it's her or me directly, it's the same thing. I tell you, I hate calling.
Yeah.
I get so many solicitations, and yet that's what I have to do that for work. So it's part of the process. You have to do it, even though it's uncomfortable. I sort of coach. It's okay to have rejection. Okay, that's gonna happen. Don't worry about it. It's just your job. So if you're calling that list of chamber members and the person's like, hey, why are you calling me? I'm not interested. And it's okay to just apologize, sorry to bother you, on to the next one. You got to set those things aside. And it's the same thing when I go to a networking group and I talk to someone and they're like, oh, I've got someone else. I like where I'm at. And I'm just like, that's great. Who are you using? Kind of thing. Oh, I've heard good things about it. Great. Move on.
Yep.
When they have a problem, they'll come back to me.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
So that there is that uncomfortable nature that you just got to get around
Mhm.
and move on.
Yep. All right. Some rapid fire questions. Speaking about
Okay.
uncomfortable. Give me,
right.
because everybody doesn't know how to start a conversation. So rapid fire question. What is your number one kind of conversation starter when you go to an event for somebody you haven't met before? Other than what do you do?
Well, that does tend to be my number one thing. I will ask, how long have you been in Charlotte? What do you like to do in the area? That people like to talk about their own activities, their business. I do like, I get people talking about what they do all the time, and eventually they'll turn around and ask me about mine. But what do you like to do in Charlotte? And if someone has a hobby, then it gets them opened up and talking about what they do.
Yeah, which just deepens the relationship because now you have stuff you can follow up with. You have a connection, maybe something in common. Maybe if they mentioned something and you know somebody else that likes that, you can now connect those two people together. Really important to get to know somebody on a deeper level. Well, this has been a great conversation talking about networking and a little bit of prospecting as well. Yeah. So as always, I enjoy talking to you, and thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, Melissa.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of the Network Build Grow podcast. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a fellow entrepreneur or professional. And of course, if you're not yet part of our community, visit networkbuildgrow.com to connect with us. Until next time, keep building and keep growing.